So I want to introduce my dear friends, Gary and Viveca, with impossible last names, both of them. You can read them. And they are perhaps the most prolifically creative people that I know, certainly at our age. And they have written together 20 or so books. And one of them has really caught my attention. So this is the one. It's called Old, Intimate, and Unafraid. Here, I have to hold it in front of me, and this background doesn't allow anything. Oh, help. No. Let's get rid of the background. And now you can see the book.
Oh, very nice.
Okay, Old, Intimate, and Unafraid. So you get the idea of what we're going to be talking about. So both of you have written numerous books together. This book has Gary's name on it, but I know that Viveca had a lot to do with it, not only because of her skills as an editor, but also because she is his life partner.
Yes.
And so the content of the book, no doubt, came from their personal experience. So, Gary, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the origins of the book?
Well, both Vivek and I have we've been widowed for many years. And Vivek and I have only been married now for 5 years. And so we're in well, I'm 73 and Viveka's 80. And, uh, and so when we
Okay,
first
that he
got,
tells everybody that
I'm proud of her. She looks amazing,
He'll get in
so
trouble.
active.
quite remarkable.
And so I think I have permission, do I, Vivica, to mention your age?
You already did.
I know, but
Don't
we
rub
could
it
delete
in.
that. Don't rub it in.
We can edit it out later if you would.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
But we've been married for 5 years, and both of our marriages were to wonderful people, but they weren't very physical.
Hmm.
And both Vivica and I are very physical and sensual. And so I felt that this was a book that needed to be written because we have discovered that the physicality of being in love is amazing. To be able to stroke each other and to embrace each other, and for the other person to enjoy that, it's amazing for us. And so, even in old age, that's why it's old, intimate, and unafraid. Some people think that once you get to a certain age, you no longer need intimacy, touch, or being sensual with another person. And yet, we have discovered that this is something that we're thriving in our life, being able to express our love for each other in a very physical and a way of contacting each other at a deeper level. It's been amazing.
So the shocking and remarkable thing is that young people don't like to think about old people having sex or being intimate in that way. And for older people, we don't feel any different on the inside, do we?
Exactly.
So, of course, this should be part of the love language. And I believe that touch it's like watering a plant.
Ah,
It's
beautiful analogy.
necessary for your health and your emotional stability.
Yes.
But it can be very different than what we had in our 20s and 30s and 40s. Would you like to talk about that, Vivica?
Well, yes, sure. First of all, I think that the emotional connection that you have with someone you love is also a spiritual connection. I think you need to have a connection on all different levels. It's not just a physical one. Uh, and I think that when we're young, we have certain expectations. Most of those never come true. We have ideas, Unfortunately, we've been fed ideas, we've been told things, but nobody really talks about things in great detail. And so I also think that our relationships with our partner changes over time. When you get married, it's maybe an initial time of close connection and kind of a form of ecstasy. But then as you get older, you have kids and you have work and you have commitments and things kind of simmer down a little bit. And many times people find that they really kind of lose that connection. It may be occasional encounters, but it's not the same way as it is when you first, fall in love with someone. But then, as Gary and I have discovered, you can rekindle or newly kindle that type of relationship. And I think much of that has to do with having the same love language. And that's what we have discovered makes a big difference. And so Gary and I both have touch, as physical touch as our love language. We like to touch and stroke and be close to each other. We also like to touch and stroke other people. We enjoy the sensation of touching. And I think when my children were growing up, I always touched and held and kissed and hugged them and held them close. And as a result, they have become the same kind of people. They need that. They want that. And so if you have different love languages, you have to learn about that and understand that. And you don't do that when you're young. For example, my late husband's love language was doing nice things for people. And he thought that that's what love was all about. So when I didn't respond in kind, he didn't understand why. And when he didn't respond in the way that I wanted, I did not understand why either. I thought maybe he wasn't attracted to me. It was a form of misunderstanding and not talking about things because we didn't know any better. And strangely enough, Gary had the exact same experience in his former marriage. Same personality type and the same love language. So Gary, why don't you talk about that?
Well,
Sure.
can I just interject for a second because
Yeah.
maybe our audience doesn't know the 5 love languages.
Okay.
Would you like to enumerate them for us, or would you
I'm
like?
not sure that I know all 5, so maybe you
Yeah,
can
I
do
know
it.
the rest of them.
Yeah.
So touch is certainly one, physical touch. Gifts is another. Some people love to give and receive gifts. And then there's quality time, acts of service, as you just described. And why can I never remember the 5th one?
Do you know it, Gary?
Do you know it?
I
I'm
can't, I
gonna,
can't recall.
okay, I'll come back with that. So go ahead, Gary. You can take it from here and I'll try to remember that other one.
Well, and one caveat I think is important is that even if your love language isn't touch or intimacy, all of us, all human beings, have that built-in need to connect with another person physically. They've done studies that the famous one, hundreds of years ago, babies that weren't touched, they don't do well. And so we have someone that's part of our group that goes to the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, and she's not a medical person, but she has been trained to hold newborn babies because they need contact. And so all human beings need contact. Our bodies are designed to experience pleasure, connection, and intimacy. And so there are neurotransmitters that get turned on that are very important for cognitive health, for physical health. And there's something called the oxytocin hormone. It's the love hormone. And so when you make physical contact with your loved one, that increases the bonding between you and your loved one. And so when we don't have physical contact, it's easier to grow apart. And so one thing that Viveca and I have discovered is that we feel very close and we are close. And that helps us with that feeling deeper towards each other emotionally and physically. So it's a feel-good chemical that our body releases.
So it happens to be the same chemical, hormone, if you will, that initiates labor and that bonds the mother to the child.
Amazing.
So, yes, so that is the most powerful. By the way, our pets make it too.
Wow.
And when we handle and love on our pets, we're both making oxytocin. So I did remember the fifth love language, and that is words of appreciation.
Words of appreciation.
Mhm. So, Viveca, you brought up a very interesting, deep topic of spiritual connection. How does that manifest? Does it mean you go to the same church, you believe the same way, you say the same prayers? What is that spiritual connection? Both of
Sure. I think that a spiritual connection is something even deeper than that. And I think that you discover in some people a spiritual connection. I think many of us have had an experience where you suddenly feel very connected to another person. It's not a love situation, it's a friendship sort of situation, or it may be some relative or somebody that you just feel very closely connected to spiritually, and you know that you have the same sense of wonder, the same sense of needing to explain, the universe around you. I think it helps if you're of the same faith, and I think it helps especially if you have similar ideas within that same faith. You can, of course, disagree and still be feeling close to that person. And both Gary and I, as we have told you, we enjoy experiencing different faith traditions. And we found one common thread in most of them, and that is people's spirituality. And it's very evident and very obvious when you talk to people that some people are very close to God, and that they have this sense of a universe that is directed in some way or another by a loving deity. And I think that is really, really important. And Gary and I happen to be both of the same faith and of the very same conviction in pretty much every way. And this is another reason that brought us together, because we met at a church that represented our values already. So it was an easy thing for us. We very seldom disagree about anything when it comes to our faith. Occasionally, I happen to be a little bit more free thinking than Gary. So I will sometimes bring up other ideas, and I've had to set him straight a few times, So
Yeah.
Gary, do you want to add to that?
Sure. Sometimes we think, well, religion and sexuality are two polar opposites. We tend to think of sex in a dualistic way. It's either pornographic or it's puritanical, and so if we put religion in there, then that makes it more towards kind of like puritanical sort of approach. But when you look at a common book of the Bible that's both in the Jewish and Christian Bible, and that's the Song of Songs, the Song of Solomon, we see that the author does not shy away from the thrill of attraction, the delight of gazing upon and touching and longing for the beloved. Your lips drop sweetness as a honeycomb, my bride. Milk and honey are under your tongue. And then he'll go on and say, your breasts are like two fawns, like twin fawns of a gazelle that browse among the lilies. And so it's very sensual. God delights in our being sensual with our partner, with the person that he has created for us. And we are created for one another. And so I think that really is the delight. And there's another book that we wrote as well. And I don't know if you can see
Get
this
closer, and you're
a little closer.
yeah,
There
oh,
we go.
there it is. Embracing desire. Okay.
Yes. And it's the Song of Songs.
Mm.
And so this gives credence to the fact that we can express our sensuality without fear that somehow God is going to say, oh no, that's ucky. He created us. He created sexual union. And there is something holy about that. nothing to be embarrassed about. That's why we're unafraid to say that we love each other and we enjoy the physical aspect of loving each other.
So the remarkable part of that, I think everyone would agree with that, is that contact and that closeness and that bond can happen throughout life.
Yes.
So what happens when there are physical disabilities or, people don't look as sexy as they used to, and you have to get past that? How do you get past that?
That's a good point. There will be a different way of expressing love physically. And so there might be limitations, but touch is something that is an equalizer. And so touching another person, stroking them. So we think that the young person, it's all about thrusting and about performing, and it's 3, 2, 1, done. But for more mature people, there's a sensitivity, and now we have time to explore each other. And it's amazing how beautiful the human body is, even after it's a little older. The wrinkles we have are wrinkles that we have shared life together. We have experienced things. And the beauty of the human body is amazing, even though it's a little older. Viveca and I were joking a little bit. She was talking about how guys, they like to have a six-pack because a six-pack makes them attractive. But the reality is that women not necessarily are always attracted to abdominal six-pack. And so I mentioned, well, what about me? I've got a whole gallon. And so older people, we can make fun of ourselves because it's not about how we look. It's about how we love and how we can be tender and gentle with each other. That we make space for each other and we enjoy being with each other and stroking, even if there is no penetration. That doesn't matter. What matters is being close and enjoying. And we have pleasure. And so it's important for us to realize that we're not young, but this time in our life is the best time for us physically, as far as physical touch. And so we thoroughly love each other and feel free to express that love.
So I'm going to say something that may be new to some of our audience, but I believe, and I think Viveca will agree, that a man has to learn how to please a woman,
Yes.
that it is not automatic, that his mindset is get in, and get out, performance, that sort of thing. But that's not at all what a woman wants. So it's
This is
about the
this is
slow
so
hand.
true. Yeah.
Yes, please, Viveca.
This is so very true. And I think that a lot of marriages could be saved if people would just figure that out.
Yeah.
And I think so many women feel lonely and sometimes used because their husband will have this very quick, interest, and then he turns over and starts snoring, and it's so, it makes you feel so sad and you feel so lonely, you feel so misunderstood, and you feel empty. And I think I've said that to Gary many times that you should have a required class in high school about marriage, and not just about marriage as we see it in society, but marriage and sexuality and marriage and children, marriage and the connection between husband and wife. There are lots of different aspects of marriage, but I think that one would be really, really good for people to know, because when you watch a movie, what is it about? You meet at the bar and you go and you can't wait to run home and take your clothes off and have sex, and then that's it. The next day you don't even know each other's name, and it's tragic. But I think people kind of think that that's the way it's supposed to be. And I think the women especially suffer because no woman wants that.
That's right.
Someone has said it like this, that for a man, we're like turning on the stove, a gas stove, that the fire comes up almost immediately. So when we get aroused, it's immediate. We have the arousal and we want, let's make things happen. But for a woman, she's more like the water in the pan, and that has to warm up. And we need to start the process of romanticizing our partner, kind of like in the morning. If you're planning on having some sort of rendezvous later on in the evening, you better start in the morning and demonstrate that you love her, that you appreciate her, not to get her to perform for you, but in order so you don't have any baggage that blocks everything. Because if you say something that's unkind in the morning, in the evening, it's going to be remembered.
She will remember
She
it.
will remember it. And so, and that turns her off. Not that she is saying, well, I'm going to punish you. That's a natural reaction. For a woman to be vulnerable, they have to feel safe. And if you don't make them feel safe, then what you're doing is you're invading their space. And that's not the way to demonstrate love and to demonstrate care.
And I would take it a step further. You're actually violating their body. It's not love. It is not that anybody's love language.
They feel used.
Yes. So
And
thank
maybe in some way, guys are doing that because we're not focused on what does she need? What does she like? And so here's what we recommend, that there's a dialogue throughout the process. And if you like the way something feels, let your partner know about it. And you can say, for instance, I like that, or you can make noises that indicate that you're enjoying what's going on. Or afterwards say, when you did this, I really like that. Let me tell you that guys have sensitive egos. And so you don't want to say that was not good, because we still have this performance attitude. And so be gentle with us, please, because we have a very, very difficult ego. We have to live with it.
So I'm going to read the 5 love languages again,
Very good.
because it is so important, because different people respond to different aspects of love and different ways of expressing it. So we're talking about physical touch, but you could start the day with words of appreciation.
Yes.
You look lovely, dear, even though she looks like hell, her hair is a mess. She just got out of bed, but nonetheless, you love her and you can find something nice to say. Gifts, of course, are always welcome. Acts of service. Let
Yes.
me get that for you. I remember when I was much younger, I was a big time feminist, which I still am, but I've tempered it somewhat. And I would be offended if a guy insisted on opening the car door for me.
Oh my.
Now I see it very differently. It is an act of respect, and it's something that I can accept in the spirit with which it was given. And then finally, quality time. And you two spend all your time together, as far as I can see, which is pretty remarkable that you don't get on each other's nerves. And I would like to know how you do that,
Can I share something?
please.
Sometimes I overdo it. In fact, I've told Viveca I'm like an invasive species. I tend to invade. And so she's walking and I'm following her, and she's going to the bathroom and she has to slam the door, make sure I don't go in there.
Enough.
So there should be boundaries.
Yes, exactly. So the book, again, Old Intimate and Unafraid, Embracing Passion in the Golden Years. And there is much in here that we can learn from. So yeah, so and connecting it with spirituality is a big leap for many people. But
Yes,
what could be more spiritual than the union of two people who love each other?
exactly. That was how we were designed to be together.
Mhm.
And there needs to be a respect for the human body as it is, that it is a sacred vessel, and to not criticize or make fun of, or whatever word you want to use, of the other person's perhaps shortcomings, because obviously you can't help that. But secondly, you can learn to love those shortcomings. You can learn to love the person just the way he is or she is. And that's so important, that we are not expecting some kind of big change in order to please the other person. You can do what you can. I'm a big proponent for trying to make yourself look the best, the best you can. And that's for yourself and it's for your partner. Because, after a while you get tired of seeing, a person who never cares about their exterior and never cares about how they dress and so forth. I think you can be very comfortable with each other, but I think you show a certain amount of respect to one another by presenting yourself as well as you can. I don't think there's any vanity in that. I think it's more like, this is how I want you to see me.
Well, and I think that also demonstrates that you value yourself,
Yeah,
that you honor the fact that you are someone that represents you, and so you want to present that in the most favorable way. And so I think that's perfectly right.
And I would add that healthy people, fit people are more beautiful
Ah,
when they take care of themselves. You use your body in various ways. You keep it looking as good as you can.
yeah.
You work out, you eat right, you sleep, the way you should, and then you look more beautiful and you present yourself.
And you feel better.
Indeed.
and I think you have that responsibility towards yourself too, to keep yourself as healthy. And you're right. If you are healthy, if you eat well, if you exercise, you do look better. That's an absolute truth. So it's a responsibility towards yourself, but also I think towards your partner
Yeah.
to do what you can. Gary and I happen to really enjoy walking, so we walk a lot together, which is wonderful. And we swim a little bit too. We don't overdo any kind of exercise. I think a lot of people say that you have to keep building up and doing more and more and more. I don't think that's necessary. We enjoy walking. We sometimes walk 5 or 6 miles a day, which is kind of a lot, but we love it. And we like to walk outside and we like to look at nature and talk about what we see. And
I wish I had a partner to walk with because my balance isn't great.
Uh,
And holding on to somebody else makes me feel more secure.
I
yeah.
think it is true. And I think it's a very common thing for all of us as we get older, that our balance is off just a little bit. And on some days it's worse than other days. And sometimes we get lightheaded. And so to continue walking is really helpful because you make your you rev up your immune system, and you make your blood flow, and you breathe more deeply, and all of those things that are
Oh, good.
beneficial for your health.
So we're built for love and we're built to walk. You're right.
Absolutely,
We
yeah.
can outwalk any animal on the planet.
Isn't
We
that
have
amazing?
more endurance than anyone.
Wow.
The cheetah is faster, the horse can go long distances, but human beings are actually designed to cover more ground than any of them. It's great.
Really, I
Mhm.
didn't
That's
know that.
beautiful.
Yeah, I know. It's really remarkable.
But we walk on purpose. Most animals walk only because they have to.
Right.
It's true, I think.
Well, but God didn't make automobiles.
This is
We certainly rely on those far too
We
much.
do.
And it would be nice if our cities were more friendly
yeah.
and suburbs for sure, more friendly to people and less so to cars.
Well, we wrote another book. It's called Just Walk.
Ah,
And so we have a number of reasons for walking, and there are different ways of walking. But one of the best things is find a partner that you can walk with. And so find a group of people or find your neighbor and make a promise to walk with them every day. So make an agreement that you're going to be out there walking. And we had a friend, and you might know her, Judy, and she said she couldn't do something because she had a walking date. And
Yeah.
she set that date and she had to go for a walk. Isn't that wonderful
It
to
is.
have
It's
a
making a
walking?
commitment to someone else. And
Mhm.
that's a form of supporting each other.
And
So
it's a type of love. And if you can lock arms so that you don't fall, that's even better.
that's right. So I want to show you a picture. I have to turn off this background thing in order to do so. I have saved this. This is from the New York Times Sunday magazine from 2018.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
It's called Love City. And the inside, there are pictures of odd couples. But this
Yes.
one got my attention in terms of what we're talking about today. It's
That looks like Viveca and me.
it really does. It really
Amazing.
does. How marvelous.
That is wonderful.
I know. So let me put my lovely beach back on. And is there anything that we've left out? Is there anything that you want to add to this?
We just think that people, especially older people, need to realize that touch is essential, that we need to touch each other and embrace each other. And finding someone that you feel comfortable with and hugging them. We have a Thursday night group that meet together, and they've become friends and they enjoy embracing each other, and they're there for a meal. There's no other agenda, but they enjoy talking with each other. That's so good for the mind and for the body to be in a social environment where you're touching people and being close to people and eating together and talking together. And so we encourage that.
And one more thing, I think curiosity is really important. Gary and I get up early in the morning and we talk about everything you can imagine. We get on our iPhones and we see all these things that are happening in the new scientific discoveries and things that happen in other countries and just any number of things. And we thoroughly enjoy that conversation. We talk back and forth and we explain things to each other. And sometimes Gary mansplains things to me, but then I get right back at him. So, but
She corrects me.
talking together is really, really important. And having a common topics to discuss, I think is really important. And I love science myself, so any scientific discoveries of great interest to me. And Gary happens to be a scientist, so it works perfectly.
It's wonderful.
So I know that our audience is going to be hugely jealous of the two of you
Oh,
and how you found each other. We love seeing this. It gives us all hope. And by the way, I just want to tell everyone that Viveca is a Swedish babe. She is from Sweden, and she looks it and she acts it, and we are so appreciative.
Thank you. Thank you.
European sensibilities are very different from American.
Sure.
Most Americans are frightened to touch each other because it might be misconstrued, it might be taken wrongly, someone might get in trouble. So I would encourage everyone to start in small ways, touching
yes,
hands, touching shoulders, hugging, and maybe asking permission before you go any further.
right.
It's a good idea to ask permission. Let me tell you something. Gary and I had our first date. We just went out for dinner and we had a wonderful conversation, but there was nothing more than that. We enjoyed each other very much. In the parking lot, when we were saying goodbye, Gary said to me, "May I kiss you?" And I've never had anyone ask permission like that before. It tickled me to no end. I wasn't even ready for that kind of thing yet, but I thought, how polite can a man be, So I thought that was sweet. So what I'm saying is, don't assume that you can touch just anybody, but ask permission. Is it okay if I give you a hug? Is it okay if I hold your hand? Because some people might feel like their space has been invaded and they might be uncomfortable with that kind of, especially people in this society here who are so touch averse because they're so afraid of a touch or a gesture being misinterpreted someone. It's an unfortunate development. I think it's so sad. Even young people are afraid of touching their friends and in a non-sexual way because somehow it gets misinterpreted. And I think it's a really unfortunate development.
Well, I think it's unique to this culture. I've not seen it anywhere else. People in South America, Latin America, they're always touching each other. And even Europeans, two women will walk down the street holding hands, and even men will hold hands. And it doesn't mean that they're lovers or they're gay. It just means that they're close and they want to express that.
Yes.
The one big exception that I've seen is the Japanese culture, where nobody touches anybody. You can touch a child, and that's it. There's no physical touch in public. And I think that's really kind of sad. And so many Japanese people totally misunderstand or misinterpret the gestures that are made by Western people. And they think it's all sexual. And I think it's very unfortunate. They are so touch averse and so touch starved. It's just amazing. So yes, there's that culture.
And Viveca was married to a Japanese exchange student for 41 years. And so she understands this from her own experience with Japanese friends and the culture. Yeah.
So he was not trainable then.
To some extent, but not very much,
But then you got Gary, you got the prize.
That's right.
Gary is open, he's open-hearted, he's honest and authentic. So are you. You're just the best couple to be role models.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yes, I just love being around you. You exude
Thank you.
sweetness and openness.
Love being around you too, Carol. You're such a sweet, wonderful person. You really are. And you're also deeply spiritual. And that's the connection I feel with you.
Yes.
Which is something unique.
Yes, we're looking for the truth. We're living our truth.
Right.
And we wish to model it for anyone who has eyes to see.
Exactly.
So I find this book to be right on target. You never get too old for intimacy and love.
You don't. You're right. This is true.
Again, thank you for that. And thank you for sharing your time and your wisdom with us. And we will definitely do this again.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Carol. Okay.
Bye-bye, Carol.
Bye-bye.